What's up, guys? Welcome back to the very first video ever for Star Wars Walrus. I'm super excited to be bringing you guys this video today and all the videos to come in the future. Today we're going to be going over the Star Wars canon timeline of books, movies, and shows. Each book, movie, and show I talk about, I'll give a little bit of a summary and then let you guys know where it falls on the timeline. In the future, I do plan on going more in depth in these books, so if you don't want to actually read the books, which I totally understand, there will be videos coming. And without further ado, let's get right into the video, guys.
This is where the fun begins.
Alright, so to start us off, we have a new series coming out this fall. One book is coming out in August, one in September, and the next in October. And it is called The High Republic. There are also two comic books coming out with that, but we're not covering comic books in this video, so we're going to leave those out of there. This happened, the High Republic takes place in 232 BBY, and really quick, what BBY means, it means before Battle of Yavin. Now, the Battle of Yavin was, what took place in A New Hope, and it ended when they blew up the Death Star. So this is 232 years before they blew up the first Death Star. Alright, so let's get back to the High Republic. Essentially, what the High Republic is when the Jedi and the Republic were at their all-time high, and there's these space Vikings going around that are creating chaos, and the Jedi kind of have to go around and take care of them. And that's about all we know right now. We don't know a whole lot about them, so we'll move on to the next one. Up next, we have DOOKU Jedi Lost. This one takes place over a long period of time because it essentially starts when Dooku, or before Dooku was a Padawan actually, to when he got picked to Yoda, all the way to him becoming a Jedi Master, even past training Qui-Gon Jinn, and until he leaves the Jedi Order. So it's over a long period of time. Um, but it essentially is the backstory of Count Dooku. I finished this book a couple weeks ago. Very, very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I'm currently working on a video right now that talks a little bit more about the book. It'll go more in depth, but very good. It just tells the backstory of Count Dooku. Up next, we have the book called Master and Apprentice. This one is about Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, and it is about when Qui-Gon Jinn is training Obi-Wan early in their apprenticeship. It's really cool because you get to learn about their relationship, the development of it, and essentially Qui-Gon is offered a spot on the council, but he doesn't want to let down Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan feels like he's letting down Qui-Gon, and so they go to this planet, Teth, I believe, yes, Teth, and they fight this corruption on the planet, and they kind of develop their relationship, and we get to learn a lot about those two, which is just really cool. And this takes 8 years before the events of Phantom Menace. Okay, so up next we have a book called Chaos Rising. It is not currently out. It comes out in October, and it is about THRAWN's origins. His people, the Chiss, their ascendancy was attacked, but they don't really know by who. So this is kind of a big deal. And essentially, THRAWN is given this expansionary fleet to find the people who did this, and he is sent to go find them and take them out. And so this book, you're kind of learning about where Thrawn came from. How did he become such this how did he build this reputation of this powerful man? Kind of where did he come from? So everything, all of that is explained in this book, and this takes someplace in between 40 BBY and the events of Phantom Menace. Up next, we have a book called Queen's Peril. Comes out this June. Is about Padme Amidala and when she's first elected as Queen of Naboo at age 14. The story of this basically is that she's given these handmaidens. She's 14. She has to rule Naboo. It's all very new to her, and then she is invaded, or Naboo itself is invaded by the Trade Federation, and she's kind of learning what to do. She don't really know what to do, so she has to try and unite her handmaidens and unite Naboo, and it's kind of about her backstory of when she was Queen of Naboo for the first time. And that's about it for that one. So after Queen's Peril, that's when we get to The Phantom Menace, which is the first film for the Star Wars canon timeline. And I'm assuming most of you have seen it, but in the events that you haven't, The Phantom Menace tells the story of Anakin Skywalker and how he was found, and essentially Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, two very important Jedi, come across this little boy who they believe to be the Chosen One on Tatooine, and they bring him back to the Jedi Order. They also discover that the Sith, who they thought were gone, are in fact back, and there's the epic lightsaber duel at the end with Darth Maul. So let's move on to the next one then. 4 years after The Phantom Menace, we have the book Queen's Shadow, which is about Padme Amidala again, and essentially she is done serving her term as queen, and the new queen of Naboo wants her to keep serving. So she agrees, and so she can be in multiple places at once. Her friend pretends to be her as a merchant on Tatooine, while Padme stays on Coruscant. We get to learn about the establishment of the monarchy on Naboo, and we also get to learn about the relationship that Clovis and Padme had. As much as we hate Clovis, we get to see more of him. Yay. So we'll move on to the next one then. 6 years after Queen's Shadow, so 22 BBY, is Attack of the Clones, which is the second canon film of the Star Wars franchise. And it is basically the start of the Clone Wars. You get to see the first battle, and you also get to see Anakin all grown up, and you get to see his relationship develop with Padme and that sort of thing. So, moving on from Attack of the Clones, we have Star Wars The Clone Wars, the show. This is the single greatest Star Wars show to ever exist, without a doubt, and it follows the 3 years of the Clone Wars of the Jedi and the clones versus the Separatists and their battle droids. There's a lot of new characters that are introduced that aren't in the canon films, and it is, if you haven't seen it yet, you need to watch it. It is an absolutely fantastic show. I will be doing more videos on it in the future, and for the most part, it's over. They're finishing the last six episodes, and they're releasing one each Friday for the next 6 weeks until the series is over. During the events of the Clone Wars, specifically 21 BBY, Catalyst, a Rogue One event, the book, takes place, and it follows the main character, Galen Erso, who he's a researcher. He does research on focused energy, so essentially very powerful energy, and this man Krennic, who in the future is going to work for the Empire, saves Galen's family from being kidnapped and possibly killed. So Galen's family kind of owes this man Krennic. Um, they owe him, and essentially Krennic's like, "Can you help me with some work?" And Galen helps him, and Galen Erso is essentially tricked into starting the Death Star project, and we kind of get the backstory of how that project all started and how they figured out how to make something of that size and destructibility. Near the end of the Clone Wars, in the year 19 BBY, the book Dark Disciple takes place, and what happens is Dooku's tactics start going too far, and a giant massacre happens, and the Jedi Council decides that they have to take out Dooku. That's the only way that they can stop this thing. So they send Quinlan Voss, paired with the ex Sith apprentice, whatever you want to call her. They send Quinlan Voss and Asajj Ventress off to kill him, and it's the story of those two trying to kill him. And basically, what happens is Quinlan Voss and Asajj Ventress start to develop feelings for each other, and Quinlan Voss kind of loses his sense of where he is in the Force. He starts to fade a little bit to the dark side. So it's kind of about that struggle with those two trying to kill Dooku. Following Dark Disciple, in the same year, 19 BBY, we get the third movie and the final movie of the prequel series, Revenge of the Sith, the best Star Wars movie, hands down, in my opinion, and it is about Anakin's final turn to the dark side, the rise of the Sith, and the fall of the Jedi. Fantastic movie, greatest lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars happens, and that is that's it. Following the events of Order 66, we have the book Ahsoka that takes place the year after Order 66, so 18 BBY, and it essentially follows Ahsoka's journey, life right after Order 66. And she's hiding on a planet, and the Imperial forces come, and she has to expose her Jedi past, her Jedi powers to kind of escape to get out of there, and that's kind of the story. It starts with that. That's kind of like the main point of it, but it's about Ahsoka and what she does after Order 66, so we kind of get an understanding of how she came to be the rebel that you see on the series Rebels. The next book takes place in the year 14 BBY. It is called Lords of Sith, and it's a really cool storyline. It is about Emperor Palpatine and Vader trying to take control of the planet Ryloth because they need it for the slave labor and spice. Um, the Resistance leader Cam Syndulla that you see in Clone Wars, you see him in Rebels. He is again trying to fight against the Empire, and he's leading this resistance movement. So that's why the Emperor and Vader himself go to Ryloth to try and take control of it, but their ship is shot down. So it's kind of about their story of essentially escaping and then also taking control of Ryloth, while these resistance fighters led by Cam Syndulla are trying to kill them. The following book, which takes place in the same year, 14 BBY as the previous one, is about Tarkin. It's called Tarkin, and essentially it's about how Tarkin became a Grand Moff and him guiding the Death Star project. And the main point of the story is him and Vader are sent to put down these guerrilla attacks and this separatist conspiracy or uprising against the Empire. And if you didn't already know this, Tarkin and Darth Vader absolutely hate each other. So it's a lot about their relationship and those two having to work together to put down this separatist conspiracy and kind of Tarkin's background or rise to power. The following book is called Most Wanted, and it is about Han Solo and Kira growing up on their planet, and it's kind of the backstory to their relationship. And it's also an addition of a backstory to Han Solo's character, kind of his childhood, and they run into a lot of like crime syndicates in the Empire, and they're running from them. And we're mostly just learning about how they came to be at the start of the Han Solo Star Wars movie. After Most Wanted is the Star Wars story of Han Solo, the film, and the extended book as well, and that takes place from years 13 to 10 BBY, and it kind of explains how Han Solo went from this child almost on a planet to the smuggler that he is. It kind of is his smuggling backstory and how he got into that profession, and the book is the same thing as the movie, but just a little bit expanded. From 13 BBY to 0 BBY, the next book, Rebel Rising, talks about Jyn Erso and her growing up. In the movie Rogue One, the first scene we see Jyn Erso as just a little child, and then the next scene she's all grown up. So this book is essentially that middle part that the movie never touched on. It's about her relationship with Saw Gerrera, and there's this kind of unthinkable betrayal that happens. I won't spoil it for you guys, but and that's kind of the main focus of the book is just her growing up, and this terrible things happen to her, and it kind of shapes who she is, the character that we see in Rogue One. The next book is called THRAWN, and it takes place from 11 BBY to 0 BBY, and it is about Thrawn in the Empire and how he rises to the rank of Admiral, and how he proves himself. So we just get to see a lot about his origins and kind of how he rose through the ranks to the Grand Admiral that you see in the show Rebels. The next book takes place in 11 BBY, and it is called A New Dawn. This one is about the backstory of Kanan Jarrus and Hera Syndulla and how they met. Um, because when you watch the show Rebels, you meet these characters, they already know each other, they're already part of this rebel alliance. So this book is kind of their backstory, how they meet. You get to learn how Kanan survived Order 66, and then his decision to join the rebel group with Hera, and them starting to kind of fight back against the Empire. So you get to see the construction of this rebel alliance, which is pretty cool. Following the last book is Lost Stars. It takes place from 11 BBY to 5 ABY and is about two characters, Sienna Ree and Thane. And basically, they're friends that enroll in the Imperial Academy, and Thane doesn't like it there. He realizes how cruel the Empire is, and he leaves and joins the Rebel Alliance. And then Sienna is tasked with, well, what do I do? Do I leave or do I stay? So it's kind of the story about her making her decision to leave the Imperial Academy and whether or not she does. And it's also about the relationship between those two. Up next is Battlefront 2 Twilight Company, taking place from 6 BBY to 3 ABY, and that book is about a group of soldiers, or a company of soldiers, that is fighting against the Empire, and they are called back after they're very deep behind the enemy lines, but some allies come and help them out, so they decide to push deeper anyways, and they target what they consider to be the heart of the Empire's military, and it's just kind of a story about them doing damage to the Empire and taking out some of their very important military machinery. The show Rebels takes place next, ranging from 5 BBY to 0 BBY, and it's about this group of rebels, the same ones from A New Dawn, that are just kind of going around building the rebellion. They're wreaking havoc on the Empire, and it's also about Ezra, who is an apprentice Jedi. He is learning from Canon, who is a Jedi Knight, and it's kind of about keeping the Jedi alive and starting the rebellion. The book Leia, Princess of Alderaan comes up next and takes place in the year 3 BBY. Leia is obviously the main character, and she's of the age of 16, and it's kind of the backstory of her finding out that her parents are involved in the Rebel Alliance, and it's the backstory of her importance or her role that she played in the Rebel Alliance and how she came to be such an important figure there. And that's pretty much it for that one. The next story is really cool. It's called THRAWN Alliances, and it is about THRAWN invader going in to investigate a disturbance of the Force on a planet called Batuu. And what's really cool about it is while they're dealing with this threat to the Empire that they find on this planet, the book simultaneously goes through a story of THRAWN and Anakin when they were on the Republic, also on Batuu, and when they were in the Republic, they were trying to save Padme. So there's this connection that Vader feels when he's on this planet again with Thrawn, and they kind of show that through both stories being told. The story following Thrawn Alliances is called Thrawn Treason, and what happens is Thrawn's TIE Defender program, where basically he was trying to build TIE fighters that had shields on them, that program gets halted in favor of Krennic's Death Star project. So he loses a little bit of power there, and he has to compete now with the Death Star project. And at the same time, his home Chiss ascendancy is being attacked. So he has to decide between his allegiance to his home world, home people, or his allegiance to the Empire. So it's kind of this decision that he has to make between the two and which is more important than him to him. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Part 2 will be coming out within the next few days here. Sorry to make you guys wait, but Part 2 will be coming out soon, starting with Rogue One and going all the way to the Rise of Skywalker. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good rest of your day.